She was a fighter. She was a queen. Had a good dude. Bought me a rabbit. She was a queen. Had a good dude. She was a queen. She was a fighter. Had a good dude. Bought me a rabbit. She was a queen. She was a fighter. Bought me a house. Bought me a rabbit. She was a queen. She was a queen. She was a fighter. She was a queen. She was a fighter. Had a good dude. Bought me a rabbit. a fact. We'll make fun and I'll scratch your back, sugar. You're so fine in the day, it's fine, and we'll make it by. Well, we'll make it by, oh, we'll make it by. When we get by with love, when I look in your eyes, when I look in your eyes, you know what I'm thinking of. It's a beautiful day, and you know that's a fact. You'll scratch mine, and I'll scratch your back, sugar. You're so fine in the day, it's fine, and we'll make it by when we'll make it by.
Thank you, fabulous band. That was wonderful. And please feel free to be seated. But before you sit down, will anybody be offended if I say you're free to take off your robes, or do you really want to keep them on in this blazing sun? Okay, feel free to take off your robes. Good morning, everyone. Welcome, seniors, and welcome families, friends, and fan bases of these wonderful students, I know you will love this. You will love this unique and decidedly student-created Bates original ceremony of baccalaureate. It is wonderful to see all of you gathered here in this iconic space of the historic quad. Coming together in this way is an experience we will never take for granted after the events of the last 3 years. Given the particular journey that you, the class of 2023, have had, the program today represents a powerful opportunity for meaning-making and celebration. You are coming of age in fraught and vexing times where the world, and let's face it, the college too, have made seemingly endless demands on you to adapt and function and find your balance in the face of constant change and uncertainty. But now it's commencement weekend, and guess what? Here you are, getting to this point on this most joyous weekend of the academic year is always a huge accomplishment for our graduating seniors, but you guys have taken this feat to a whole new level. Like every first-year class, you arrived at Bates full of hope and expectation, and I imagine some trepidation if you're like most people I know, starting out in a whole new setting where you don't know anybody. Many of you were just beginning to find your footing in the second semester of your first year when the world came to a screeching halt and upended life as we knew it. You have been through semesters to modules back to semesters. You have lingered over lunches and dinners in commons, talking about everything and nothing, which is, let's be real, the best part of college. Then you were back for your sophomore year, and it was like you were living in an airport, picking up your grab-and-go meals and desperately seeking conversational reprieve on a freezing Garcelon field. You've had classes on Zoom, not on Zoom again, study abroad, on again, off again, short-term canceled 2 years in a row. And I want to tell you, all of you in the class of 2023, how personally and profoundly grateful I am for the patience and grace and generosity with which you have navigated this college experience of yours. Yes, thank you. I so respect what you have achieved, and I so appreciate your parents, families, and loved ones for the support they have provided you on this unusually challenging journey. And then finally, we were all given the gift of this glorious senior year. For all of you and for me, as it happens. Finally, college as it was meant to be, classes in person, unmasked, where you were able to see and hear and actually get to know your professors and fellow students. Teams completing full seasons, theater and dance and music playing to packed houses, commons restored as the beating heart of conversation and connection on this campus. For me, this entire year has felt like that single day in short term each year when the weather turns and we finally shed our coats and boots. You put the stress of lab and thesis behind you. I stopped fretting about thorny issues and endless emails, and we all savor the joy of being together in this wonderful season, in this wonderful setting, with friends we will cherish for life. This year, in its entirety, has felt to me like the payoff for all we have been through and all you have been through. I am so happy that you have gotten to have this senior year, and I am so grateful to have been lucky enough to enjoy my final year at Bates with all of you. Baccalaureate, thank you. Baccalaureate is a time for reflection and celebration, and this year both elements are heightened. So I invite you all to take advantage of this opportunity for exuberance and quiet reflection and enjoy the offerings that have been conceived and prepared by the amazing class of 2023. Thank you.
Please join me in a multi-faith invocation, which is a blessing of welcome and centering in whatever posture is most at home for you. Holy One, Sacred Many, let us be present to this moment together and present to all the holy things swirling in and around us. It is a rare thing in life to know when change is coming, and then be fully awake and aware of the edge you stand upon when it is here. Blessed are we to be together today to pause amidst our own metamorphosis. May we take a moment to look through these past years and truly see the people we became. And may we think of the people who loved us through each stage of our transformation. Blessed are you who shed skin and fought your way out of cocoons and blossomed, bloomed, unfurled, and grew into a beautiful new being. Blessed are you who nurtured and cared for those who were transforming, family, mentors, and friends who encouraged, cheered, empathized, and quietly held each graduate in their own becoming. Blessed are we to savor this moment of joy together, where we shine our lights and shimmer in our new wings as we swell with pride and fill our hearts with love for one another. This is our moment of baccalaureate, our moment of gratitude and blessing. May we feel it all now and be present to each moment. May it be so.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sam Jean-Francois, and I'm super excited to be here with all of you today. Before I begin, I want to give a special thank you to the friends and family of the class of 2023, especially my own mother. Without your love, guidance, and support, many of us wouldn't be here today. A term often used to describe Bates is community. It's embodied in rich traditions, such as today's baccalaureate ceremony, the cherry blossom petaled paths that lead laughter from alumni walk to this here historic quad, the sweet tang of cider drifting steadily from one fall to another, and the memories we share as fluid and elastic as the water that brings life to our bodies. As a community here at Bates, we are an extended family dedicated to our shared journey towards a deeper understanding of those around us, as well as the shared desire to make our mark on this world. Though our time together was brief, the relationship we fostered together are lifelong. With that said, I now want to read to you a short poem by the late Maya Angelou. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips his wing in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The cage bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown, but longed for still, and his tune is heard. On the distant hill, for the cage bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade wind soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms wafting on a dawn-bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. But the cage bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The cage bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the cage bird sings for freedom. I chose this poem not only because it focuses on desire and the precariousness of the future, two things many of us are experiencing as we prepare to leave Bates, but also because of its complex depiction of community. As a community, we've learned, loved, and grown together, but we've also endured great losses, some of which were experienced by all, and others dependent on the identities we entered Bates with. Be it through the COVID-19 pandemic, the insidious nature of police brutality made more visible by Black activists in recent years, tumultuous presidencies, or infringements on our rights to our bodies, our community has also held together through deep moments of sorrow, frustration, and pain. Therefore, it only feels natural that we take this time to not just honor the accomplishments of the class of 2023, but also pay respects to the trials we have faced and the support that guided us here. It's with this in mind, I open this space to reflect on our experiences here at Bates, honoring community members we've lost throughout our time here, loved ones who couldn't make it here today, and the kinship we've built during our 4 years. I ask that you use this moment to call forward loved ones who couldn't be here today, either because of travel or illness, those who have passed away, and joyous memories that have become less clear with time. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Khadija Qureshi, and today I will be sharing a poem that I wrote for the class of 2023 and for all of our parents, mentors, guardians, and ancestors who led the way for us to be here. The next time my dad tells me that he used to scale mountains and cross rivers to get to school, I too can finally say that I have braved snowstorms and pandemics to be here. Try spending one winter in Lewiston, Maine, where we waddled like penguins, small steps and arms out for balance, just to survive Alumni Walk. We were careful enough to step into someone else's footprints, yet reckless, or what we call fearless enough, to carve into a frozen Lake Andrews just to swim through it. I spent the summer before my first year at Bates watching a bus full of school children singing and chanting on the Karakoram Highway that connects to the ancient Silk Road, the joyous to and fro of an education, the carrying of curiosity, and the exchange between languages of knowing was more valuable than the trade of sapphire and cardamom. That summer, my dad led the way as we descended mountains that young feet in their big and broken rubber sandals trekked daily. How easy it is to overlook the barriers of a blister, relieve yourself of the ache once you finally reach home, shrug off and hang up the adrenaline that pulled you across the finish line. How easy it is to not notice that your boots are worn in, that the pursuits you seek have long been sought after. I cannot trace the exact timeline of when and how the nights in Ladd, classes in Peagill, and dinners in Commons taught me the thirst of inquiry, the willpower of discipline, the sustenance of friendship. But I know that it happened somewhere in between the long and swift motions of frisbees being chased across Garcelon, squirrels scurrying into our trash cans, the skateboards pirouetting and leaping to music playing on quorum. And I wonder if our practice and progress here will become as distant as the memory of learning to ride a bike. At what point after we abandoned our training wheels did we start to pedal uphill? When did we become unafraid of scraped knees and bruised ankles? Did we ever, or did we simply get used to the feeling of not knowing the curvature of our path ahead? Perhaps somewhere down that line, we'll be reminded of how, together, we braved snowstorms to get here.
Hello to my fellow seniors and to your family and friends. My name is Abby Siegel, and I'm honored to be able to share a story with you all today. I want to start off by saying congratulations on all your achievements at Bates. I think it's amazing to look around at the community we've built here in just 4 short and strange years. That alone is something to celebrate, and it makes me really proud to be a part of this awesome class. I didn't really have a specific story to tell, so I wanted to talk about the extracurricular activities I participated in here, which came in the form of odd jobs that I was hired for during my time at Bates. My first job was first semester freshman year. I worked in the theater department as a carpenter who didn't know how to use a power drill. So second semester, I switched to working in the costume shop, doing backstage work like quick changes, helping the actors, brushing their wigs. This went into sophomore year, and then junior year first semester, I worked in Olin as the nude model coordinator, which is what it sounds like. On Wednesdays, there are life drawing sessions that Bates hosts for students in the outside community, so I coordinated that as best as I could. But it wasn't until senior year that I think I finally found what I was meant to do here, which is work the front desk at Olin, because I could get my homework done. On top of this, I worked a second secret job, which was a personal favorite, and that was being the napkin board respondent. Yes, that was me. This meant that I made lighthearted responses to the dining needs and complaints that the students would write on napkins and stick to the bulletin board at Commons. So this job was mainly explaining things like why Cookie Crisp cereal has been out of stock for so long. And yes, I applied for this job on Handshake. Sometimes I look back and wonder why I didn't just join a club and stick with it. But at the end of the day, I'm appreciative of the work experience Bates granted me, because at the heart of all these jobs was a sense of community I got to embrace over the past 4 years. I had the opportunity to interact with all the different pockets of campus and work with the students, faculty, and staff from all these varying fields. Each of these different experiences has left me with some valuable takeaways. That I shouldn't be left alone with a chainsaw, that costumes need to go in the laundry after each show, some of your fellow Batesies can stand in some complex modeling poses, napkins are a great form of communication, and most importantly, I learned that traditional jobs are not the only jobs. So whatever we end up doing in this next chapter, I hope we can continue to find the magic within our work and our communities. Thank you.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Alice. My first March at Bates holds memories that hit me like sunlight on stained glass windows. I accept most of them when they come knocking, basking in 90s dance recollections, gala plans, and Cal Paris study sessions, interrupted by TikTok videos that I have since deleted from my phone. Other memories, however, do not come through colorful glass panes. They fry me like sunburns I can't soothe. I hate remembering how my fingers shook over my phone reading the email that sent us home. I hate remembering how I cried throwing my toiletries into plastic bags from the post-in print. And I hate remembering raising myself onto the rocking chairs in my dorm room to press my fingers against the ceiling so I could say I had touched every part of my space. I still haven't reckoned with moments like those, moments so small, so personally painful that represented the ripping of my first year of adult freedom from my hopeful hands and heart. On March 15th, 2020, I felt defeated as my parents sped out of the Chew parking lot, but I also felt a weird kind of smugness, a comfort in knowing I had 3 years left. For the first time in my life, I was happy to be young, happy to know I wasn't done with Bates and wouldn't be for a while. The suppressed glee followed me into sophomore year. My second year at Bates left me massaging my cheeks most nights from laughter during the day, and I found myself creeping towards new experiences with unreserved confidence. I loved being old to being new, being able to use my Bates experiences from the last year to inform new memories as I made sense of what life was like at Bates in the spring. As some of you may remember from how little I talked about it, I studied abroad in the fall of our junior year. Instead of pursuing a deep dive into that experience and how it changed me, I would like to talk about how it impacted my senior year. The day I arrived on campus after a year and a half of being gone, I went for a walk and somehow managed to get lost on the quad. My first few weeks were abundant with these fumbles. I found myself waving at doppelgangers of graduates past, and more than once I hesitated before I referred to myself as a senior because it didn't feel right to call myself such. I knew I was old, but so many of these moments back on campus felt novel. I feared my lack of a Bates junior year would put me behind all of my class members who had seen their fair share of W-2s, labs, and selfies in red-stalled bathrooms. If you know, you know. In her convocation speech, President Spencer noted that her favorite part of Bates was how students would hold doors open for each other, waiting for longer than common courtesy allows for their peers to catch up. I'd like to think this metaphor applies to how many of you waited for me. You waited for me by whispering dozens of names of unfamiliar underclassmen in my ears so I could offer enthusiastic greetings, and you offered me soft smiles during class introductions when it came time to share my class year, prompting me to reference my age with pride. You all made me feel like I belonged, like my experience had meaning, like I had earned being a senior. You all have made me feel proud to be old. Class of 2023, I have reveled in the experiences we have shared together, how we have leapt into retirement masked and unmasked, how we stand together on the precipice of adulthood without qualms. With only hours of our current student status left, I ask you all to do with me what I have been so scared of for these past 3 years. Be willing to embrace the stinging, sun-bleached memories of years marred by COVID that have aged us. Do not lose that smugment, that excitement that warrants that the great unknown warrants simply because we can no longer press our palms to ceilings to say we've done it all. Again, class of 2023, thank you for everything, and I can't wait to grow old together.
Human connection is a strange thing because people are weird. People at Bates, if you know, are pretty weird. I don't know how the admissions committee does it. It's not necessarily good or bad. It's just how it is. Maybe you have no idea what I'm talking about, but even the way I've built connections with people here has been a little weird. The year I took classes from home, I gained exactly one friend, Liv Whitaker. She and I were friends for a whole year over FaceTime before I met her in person. This was after me, her, and Justin O'Leary struggled through Orgo together. I also spent the first month of freshman year pronouncing one of my best friends, Shunsuke's name wrong because someone told me it was Shunsuka. Shunsuke and I were roommates junior year. Yeah, a little embarrassing. He's from Japan and was also home the same year I was. Coming back to campus, I had some anxieties. I felt like I was a completely different person now. Would people remember me? Would those who did still like me? Would Shunsuke and I work as roommates? Well, let me paint a picture of how it ended up working out. I finish a long day of schoolwork, come back to the room, ready for bed. I lay down, lights off, phone away, head on the pillow. I don't go to sleep immediately, though, because Shunsuke or I say something. Nothing important, just something random, something funny, something that pierces through the darkness. We can't even make eye contact, and we're half asleep, but we still start talking for some reason. Sometimes deep, basically all the time dumb. The actual content of the conversations didn't matter, just that they happened. Then there was that time when we went back to cardboard boxes and commons. Yes, it sucked not being able to eat with lots of my friends and see people I usually don't see around campus. But there was one silver lining. Every meal, Shunsuke and I would return to the room and we would watch a show. And watching a show with someone is kind of a unique experience because anytime you encounter that show or anyone in it in the future, you feel a rush of nostalgia for the times you had with that person. And for that reason, I'll cherish that time as a highlight, not a low light of my time here. Things never go according to plan. And that means you meet some people you didn't expect to along the way. It's surreal to me that I've only known many of my closest friends for the last 2 years. But I guess everything happens for a reason. Thank you, Liv, Justin, Shunsuke, and thank you to all my friends who have been part of the little moments where I felt connected like I belonged and like things made sense for once, even if everyone, including me, is a little weird.
Today, I want to speak about how we gather. One of my favorite things is bringing people from different parts of my life into the same space. Classmates, friends, family, celebrating together, processing, moving forward, sharing stories, laughter, food. I like to consider myself an avid organizer of such gatherings. So a few weeks ago, when my mom visited campus, I arranged a backyard ice cream sundae party. Any time when my parents get to interact with my friends is precious. I relish being with a group of people who have wrapped me up in care and compassion. In the early evening, we set up picnic blankets in the backyard, sprawled out in the grass, drizzled generous portions of fudge on our ice cream bowls, and chatted animatedly. In a lot of ways, the get-together was unremarkable, but I felt this rush of exceptional gratitude. Firstly, because sitting together was a patchwork of people who've known me at different stages. Perhaps it also felt significant because, for such a large chunk of our college years, it wasn't possible to be with one another in the same physical space. What a wonder it was to bask in the togetherness in all its raw simplicity. There is such joy in being with people that will always make something new and wonderful when they come together, no matter how unextraordinary the occasion. I have also come to honor how crucial it is to gather when we are aching too. Some of the most poignant gatherings I've witnessed these past 4 years have been in times of loss. Gathering through grief is a small way of indicating, I am here, I'm not going away. This does not dilute the hollowness or the pain, but it is a practice of showing up for each other, and one that I believe wholeheartedly in. We graduate tomorrow, and our new beginning is quietly forming. A beginning that is a loss of its own, both beautiful and strange. And as I find my new footholds, I will strive to seek out pockets of community. Someday, if I'm lucky, I hope to share a table with old friends and new. Our gathering today is a considerably grand one, with many hands that brought it into its existence. I invite you all to breathe deeply. A small moment to pause. What a gift it is to gather, and what a gift to delight in each other.
We hear the phrase origin stories a lot. Origin stories are those narratives we and others produce and reproduce about how the identities we hold, like the place we grew up or the college we went to, ought to shape the lives we lead. In her Cyborg Manifesto, Donna Haraway notes that when our origin stories, yes, do not align with our lived experiences, the result is anguish, confusion, and worry that we may be letting our current or future selves down. For me, my origin story in Qatar did not connect with the 2022 World Cup in the way I thought it would. Having grown up in Doha, the road to this World Cup was the backdrop of my upbringing. For as long as I could remember, I awaited the month when the world would direct its attention to the city I called home, and where I would be among crowds watching the greatest sporting event there is. But with my family now in the US and a thesis to complete, it was from here, Lewiston, that I watched the World Cup as it unfolded on television. Many of you might remember the campus atmosphere during these games, screening matches in commons and in various classrooms. It was heartwarming to see our community engrossed in the drama of the tournament. But all the while, I felt emptiness in being so distant from a spectacle that had defined my lifelong sense of place. While Argentina beat France in a stadium a few miles from where I grew up, I was watching afar from at Pier's house on Fry Street, of all places. But letting go of the expectations tied to an origin story was what helped me reconcile a predestined narrative with life's realities. It is an approach we can lean on to make sense of the unpredictability of our lived experiences. We can't help but have these rigid assumptions for where we might end up or what our degrees might bring us in the long run. And we become disappointed, albeit understandably, when our stories deviate from the paths envisioned by the worlds we inhabit. Each of us can probably remember a time when our origin story ended up being incongruent to circumstances we lived through, not least these past few years, where we felt burdened by the expectations that had to conform to our identities, whether we agreed to them or not. So my pitch is this: reject the origin story. The world is bigger than for us to navigate it feeling beholden to what we ought to do as a Bates graduate, as an American, or as any characteristic unreflective or incompatible with the internal affinities we might possess. I hope we can continue to view our futures not as linear trajectories from which we can't break free, but as flexible landscapes that we can each make our own.
Each year, new ducklings arrive at the puddle and make it their home. I've observed as they learn to race across the surface, anxiously awaiting the constant and consistent call of whom they follow. These ducklings adapt to a certain level of grit necessary to thrive and survive. The puddle provides a soothing yet simultaneously stark evolutionary environment. The puddle's murky water is colored with unsettling imagery and an overall film of grime. It may be disgustingly dirty and only socially acceptable to be immersed in during the puddle jump, and still, the oasis allows us to reflect on the environment we have all been shaped on during our time here at Bates. The puddle is a central space on campus, as many core and blurry memories have unraveled on its shores. We as students have had to endure our own sort of evolution. We as ducklings brave the cold winters, early nights, and still persevere against all odds. The grit and integrity that it takes to be persistent in showing up for ourselves and each other is a Bates trait. Harboring our tenacity ultimately gives us an unmatchable level of trust in one another. The puddle and the Bates environment have gifted us seniors with confidence. Our class was patient despite the hardships of COVID and contact tracing, being a student athlete with stellar facilities, and the undisclosed disappearance of the den. Nevertheless, these trying elements of the college is what unites us, as well as encourages us to each individually discover our most authentic selves. While we may have arrived as docile ducklings, we have each grown up to be a different duck, fostering feathers that shimmer eccentrically, quacks which are anything but identical, and personalities that embrace the main crunch while still being vast and varied. I feel blessed to graduate alongside my fellow and kind and courageous ducks. In these times where the earth begins to unthaw and the flowers start to spurt, the ducklings who are new to the puddle are just beginning to find their way and will soon be shaped by this one-of-a-kind place, the same way we all were. Thank you.
Someday you will die, but I'll be close behind. I'll follow you into the dark. Blinding light, no tunnels to gates of white, just our hands clasped so tight, waiting for the hint of a spark.
Heaven and hell decide that they both are satisfied. Illuminate the nose on their vacancy signs. If there's no one beside you when your soul embarks, then I'll follow.
Catholic school, vicious as Roman rule. I got my knuckles bruised by a lady in black, and I held my tongue as she told me, son, fear is the heart of love. So I never went back. Heaven and hell decide, both are satisfied. Illuminate the nose on our vacancy signs. There's no one beside you when your soul embarks. I will follow you into the dark.
You and me have seen everything to see, from Bangkok to Calgary, and the soles of your shoes are all worn down. The time to sleep is now. There's nothing to cry about, 'cause we'll hold each other soon in the blackest of rooms.
If heaven and hell decide that they both are satisfied, illuminate the notes on their vacancy signs. If there's no one beside you when your soul embarks, then I'll follow you into the dark.
Nice job. It is my great honor and joy to introduce our baccalaureate keynote speaker, Christopher Schiff. Each year, the senior class votes through 2 rounds of voting on who they would like to most give them advice on the eve of commencement, and it is no surprise to me that Chris is the person they chose. Chris has been the music and arts librarian at Bates for over 20 years. He is not only a wealth of wisdom on how to research, structure, and write about the arts and much more, but also has a boundless, tender heart in helping students as they sift through challenging subject matter, which, as we all know, will also illuminate personal challenges that he accompanies students along in the process. To me, students have described Chris Schiff as a brainiac family member who helps them with thesis, a mythical wise wizard like Gandalf the Grey, effusive and emphatically excited about things almost no one gets excited about, and simply a really, really good listener. Thank you, Chris, for the gifts you have already given us and for the wisdom you will share in your baccalaureate address titled Drink the Wave.
Thank you, Bates Class of 2023, for inviting me to speak today. It seems only fitting that I greet you one more time from behind a wooden podium, as so many of our conversations and connections occurred over the wooden Ladd Library research desk. I'm certain that I met some of you there on your first day at Bates, and I can hardly think of a day since that I didn't learn something from you. The full list would take us all afternoon, but the range of topics we've covered together is mind-boggling. Everything from secret societies to sacred poetry to the genetics of the taste of cilantro. I have loved learning from you, and I loved even more those moments when you just stopped by to say hi, or made sure to wave across the lobby even though you were rushing to another appointment. Imagine my awe when you taught me that deep and abiding friendship begins with EndNote software and vegan pad thai from Commons. And imagine my overwhelming joy when the Bates Sunshine Society gave me a circular card that reads, "You are holding this because you are loved." I've shed many happy tears over that. I know I was supposed to pass it on, but I kept it. I count myself among the luckiest people in the world to have shared in the 4 years of your Bates experience. It means everything to me to be able to stand here and say that I'm truly indebted to you. Over the last 4 years, you have paid me the greatest honor that I will ever be paid. You asked me for help when you needed it most, and you put your faith in me that I would help you find the right answer. That said, podium or no, I'm feeling a bit exposed. I thought I was done with college assignments years ago, so now this? Still, being a librarian, I dove into the research, and after extensive work, I can report that there are no databases that adequately address today's assignment. I can't simply type in a few keywords and have the perfect peer-reviewed article pop up to tell what comes next. Frankly, I wish there were such a database as I close in on 65 years of trying to figure out what I'm going to do when I grow up. I can really use the help. I've stopped overthinking it, though, and I instantly knew what I needed to say today. It's something that was said to me at my high school graduation in 1976, and that I've pondered many times in the intervening years. The student teacher from my high school social class knew that I was into thinking big thoughts. So, as a graduation present, they gave me a copy of The Magus by John Fowles. Now, it's one of those books where there are a bunch of Easter egg quotations sprinkled throughout the text. Little Racine here, little T.S. Eliot there. For the most part, these quotations were not fully cited or sometimes even translated. So, and remember, this is pre-internet. The reader was sent off on a quest to find the source of the quotation and to decipher its meaning and importance to the story. As my teacher handed me the book, they sent me on just such a quest by asking, "Which do you drink, the water or the wave?" That's a funny question, isn't it? It's almost like a Zen koan. Which do you drink, the water or the wave? When I was first asked the question, no explanation was given. Only after I'd read most of the Magus did I realize that my teacher was reenacting one of the scenes from the book. These are the last words spoken between two of the main characters, and they are meant to be a final challenge from a mentor to a student. Which do you drink, the water or the wave? Now, one of the things that I appreciate about this question is that it is both easy and impossible to answer. It would seem simple enough. We know what water is, and we know that we need it, so easy. Hydrate. Drink the water. But, come on, the question is a bit more complicated than all that. For the purposes of the question, do we really know what water is? From a materialist perspective, perhaps, yes, water is a very simple chemical that makes up complex things like oceans, lakes, and rivers, and humans. But this is not a question of component amount or complexity or magnitude. We are not asked if we drink the ocean, the lake, or the river. We're asked if we drink the wave, and the wave isn't easily defined. The problem with thinking that we can choose to drink the wave is that we'll never know where the wave is until we're surrounded by it. It seems to be present in the same place as the water, but it doesn't have to be. And it might be composed primarily of water, but it doesn't have to be. In fact, the wave is a force, and while we often feel its physical effects, the way we know its presence best is through emotions. In 2019, when many of you first came to Bates, I suspect you thought getting an education was going to be like drinking water. Your arrival at this moment in 2023 would be sensible and predictable. Just like drinking your requisite 8 cups a day, you would take the prescribed number of requisite classes. Each class would be another glass of water in your Bates training program, and in the end, you would have a well-educated mind and a well-hydrated body. Those of you who know me best know that's how my education went. When my teacher asked me, "Which do you drink, the water or the wave?" I knew, without any hesitation, that I was going to drink the water. And I did. Well, so long as you ignore the year in the punk band and dancing in musical theater and the year on a good old-fashioned assembly line and the 7 or so years washing dishes, my progress to graduation was straight as an arrow. So what happened? Well, every time I reached for another metaphorical glass of water, that next step in my planned and logical college career, it was a mirage. It would recede into the distance, and instead, I would find myself facing chaotic turmoil, the metaphorical wave. Some of the components of my personal wave will undoubtedly sound familiar to the Bates class of 2023. Lack of money, lack of focus, the need to help family members, a changing world that didn't seem to value my contribution. I had it incredibly easy, and I don't say that ironically. I could attribute my chaos to the pressure and confusion of being a first-gen college student with no guidance. Still, I lived in a world where there were answers to some of the difficulties, the waves that I faced. My deadlines were flexible, so I could wait for my moment. I could call on family and friends for help when I was out of resources. The wave faced by you, class of 2023, has been everything I faced, plus a multitude of forces much more powerful than any I have ever experienced. Who could have imagined that 2 months into your second term, the entire concept of a college course would have changed permanently? That concerts, dances, and entire sports seasons would be canceled, that study abroad would suddenly disappear, and for international students, that a much-needed return home would have to be canceled because there was no guarantee that you'd be able to return to the United States, much less Bates College. Those sensible glasses of water that make up your Bates experience suddenly had to include testing, quarantining, and meetings via Zoom. With every change came emotional wave upon wave. Yes, those glasses of water were still there, but some of them came from an unknown and occasionally frightening source. In these 4 short years, you have been asked to learn the lesson that took me 9. The lesson that we ultimately all learn in life. The only answer to the challenge, which do you drink, the water or the wave, is that we drink both. We don't get to choose logical progression over chaos. Chaos and turmoil are always around us, nor for the risk takers amongst us do we get to choose chaos and turmoil alone. We have to drink the water. So now that I have clumsily belabored John Fowles' elegant metaphor, I ask you to take a breath and think of Baccalaureate, today's rite of passage, as a day at the beach, and that wonderful moment when the waves crest and begin to break all around us. Feel it? Amidst all of the chaos and turmoil that you've experienced in the last 4 years and will experience in the future, I hope the wave has brought you and will always bring you moments of exhilaration and overwhelming joy. Tomorrow at graduation, you'll feel the refreshing relief of that water that you've drunk in the last 4 years. Still, remember this feeling. The wave is and will be here for you. And it is the wave that brings water alive. Drink the wave.
Hi. On behalf of the senior class, our loved ones, families, and parents provided unique support that is always valuable but was particularly needed while going through college during a pandemic. By nature, being a loved one to a college student is no easy task, but having to learn how to navigate the world in crisis and intertwine lives so intimately has given a new set of joys and challenges to all of us. While there were struggles as overlapping Zoom calls filled homes and tough transitions were met, our loved ones have been key to our transformation. Our college time has created room for made family and new support systems that have never felt more important. Our journey has been shared, watched, and supported by new communities created, and we want to take a moment to appreciate all of those who have lifted us up when we needed it. This next piece was compiled through a series of submissions that were written by loved ones. These reflections were selected as they encapsulated common experiences and expressions of appreciation. We want to thank Sudha Mulpoor, the mother of Prathusha Mulpoor, and Tama Rosker, the mother of Alana Rosker, for reading their words and those of others today. We also want to thank all of those who submitted kind words and taking the time to reflect with us. Thank you.
Leaving the familiarity of a dorm room or the smell of walking across campus to class on a fall morning and knowing that you will never have the feeling you get when you walk into Commons after vacation, these are hard things.
We still remember the day you left home, a nervous freshman all alone. Your room was that of potential and change. You radiated hope.
No longer that little child we dropped off at preschool. You stand before us, picking up your Bates diploma today.
It goes without saying that the COVID college months and years were difficult.
But in your time at Bates, you've broadened and deepened both your understanding of the world and your connection to so many good people in it.
You may not know what path you'll take, but know that you'll do very well, however it jogs and folds. You are well equipped to pull off that critical balance of always thinking of others while still thinking for yourself.
Your creative abilities, your ability to help, your concern for others, and most importantly, the simplicity and transparency in your way of being has amazed us.
You have found music, and most importantly, a desire to work with those whom our society too easily considers other, people who are finding it hard to be accepted.
You were brave to move from Estonia to study in a country you had never even been to before.
We were amazed to watch her as resident advisor took care of the first years as a mother goose.
Your time abroad strengthened both your independence and confidence. Your growth during that time was truly amazing to hear about.
You're the first graduate of the family. Words can't describe the joy in our hearts. We are so grateful and honored to be your parents. Seeing you graduate reassures us that we made the right decision leaving Mexico to provide you and your siblings with better opportunities.
Your senior thesis blew us away. On every page, your passion and excitement shone through. You have embraced the ways in which we are connected and how context shapes our lives and well-being.
Graduation is the beginning of many more great accomplishments. Be proud of all that you have done. Be kind to yourself and everyone else, and always remember that you are enough and you have everything you need.
College is not the best 4 years of your life. You've had good years here, perhaps special years, but there are many more yet to come.
You are prepared. It may not feel like it now, but you will be reminded on a daily basis all that you have learned. It will guide you.
So, as you take this next step forward, always remember to see the faces around you, the faces of family and friends, many of whom are here today. Together, we are an unbreakable circle of support that will always believe in you and always love you.
This is the moment, this is the day, this is the moment when I know I'm on my way.
Every endeavor I have whenever is coming into play. It's here and now today.
This is the moment.
This is the moment.
This is the
time when the momentum and the moment are in rhyme.
This momentous moment,
I'll gather up my past and make some sense at last. This is the moment when all I've done, all of the dreaming, scheming, and dreaming becomes one. This is the day, just see it shine. When all I've lived for becomes mine.
this is the moment, this is the hour when I can open tomorrow like a flower
And put my hand to everything I plan to fulfill my grand design. See all my stars align. This is the moment.
following is a selection of readings from a variety of faith and spiritual traditions that make up the senior class. We invite you to join us in reflection, prayer, or by simply taking a moment to breathe. It's a traveler's prayer. Yehi ratzon milifaneka Adonai Eloheinu velohe avotenu chechoklienu leshalom, vesatzienu leshalom, vesikenu leshalom, vetadrikienu leshalom, vetagenu limkot shefsenu lechaim usimha shalom. May it be your will, Adonai, our God and the God of our ancestors, that you lead us towards peace, guide our footsteps towards peace, and make us reach our desired destination for peace, life, gladness, and peace. May you rescue us from the hands of every foe ambush along the way, and from all manners of punishment that assemble to come to earth. May you send blessing in our handiwork, and grant us grace, kindness, and mercy in your eyes, and in the eyes of all who see us. May you hear the sound of our humble request, because you are Adonai, who hears prayer requests. Baruch atah Adonai, shomea tefillah. Blessed are you, Lord, who hears prayer.
I will be singing a short prayer to Saraswati Devi in the Hindu tradition. Ya kundendu tusharahara dhavala, ya subhravastranvita, ya veena varadanda mandita kara, ya sveta padmasana, ya brahmachyuta prabhriti peer, devai sada pujita, saman patu saraswati bhagavati, nisesha jadyapaha.
I'll be reading a short selection from Consolations by David White. Friendship transcends disappearance. An enduring friendship goes on after death, the exchange only transmuted by absence, the relationship advancing and maturing in a silent, internal, conversational way, even after one half of the bond has passed on. But no matter the medicinal virtues of being a true friend or sustaining a long, close relationship with another, the ultimate touchstone of friendship is not improvement, neither of the other nor of the self. The ultimate touchstone is witness, the privilege of having been seen by someone and the equal privilege of being granted the sight of the essence of another, to have walked with them and to have believed in them, and sometimes just to have accompanied them for however brief a span on a journey impossible to accomplish alone.
So I chose this quote because it brought me a lot of happiness, but also in the moments when I felt my heart was beating outside of my chest and I was nervous, I would always remember it. It's a quote that my sister shared with me, and I will share it with you. You probably already know it, but God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, making this world as it is and not as I would have it.
This is the poem To Learn the Space We Hold by Beza Ozer. To turn into a dark midnight, to start a fire in the home of your heart, to understand the non-existent center of the universe. I gather my dreams, cycle them through blood of the people I love. They tell me I can build a flower without any water, and I believe them, so I do it. A mother is magic, can make the unwanted mess disappear. A grandmother, a constellation that has yet to be discovered. A father, working until his hair falls out. An aunt, glass made of tulip. And a brother who turns joy into fire and makes the two combined into music. When love can reach the moon if I cannot, when a cloth lullaby can welcome sleep, I know some things will not change.
Hi everyone, my name is Simti Hassan. I'm going to be reading a few Islamic quotes to you all today. Everyone acts according to their own disposition. Find out what inspires your faith and do more of it, be it reading, listening to others, joining a group, or taking a class. Make the intention to continue increasing faith during the year. Verily, knowledge only comes by learning, and forbearance only comes by cultivating forbearance. Whoever aims for good will receive goodness, and whoever seeks to evade evil will be protected from it. Thank you.
Instructions on Not Giving Up, a poem by Ada Limon. More than the fuchsia funnels breaking out of the crabapple tree, more than the neighbor's almost obscene display of cherry limbs, shoving their cotton candy-colored blossoms to the slate sky of spring rains, it's the greening of the trees that really gets to me. When all the shock of white and taffy, the world's baubles and trinkets, leave the pavement strewn with the confetti of aftermath, the leaves come. Patient, plodding, a green skin growing over whatever winter did to us. A return to the strange idea of continuous living despite the mess of us, the hurt, the empty. Fine then, I'll take it, the tree seems to say. A new slick leaf unfurling like a fist to an open palm. I'll take it all.
If you're there or not there, but you're doing well. I mean, you're not there, so let's celebrate while we still can. I know what they say, I can give or care. They talk so much on me, I must be doing something right. I saw my son today in the likeness of a full-grown man, so let's celebrate while we still can. On a clear day, you can see West LA, even downtown. I remember when I couldn't see the point, but now I'm at the point where I got it figured out now. Let it go, let it go. I came to fix up the tree that's falling too. How many others have walked the same ground you have? You'll be wise to pay attention to your own head. I spent the whole day throwing records in the deep end, so let's celebrate while we still can. Captivated the fruits of my family tree. Where would I be without you? What would you do without me? Yeah, yeah. It'd be a bad look looking for the other man, so let's celebrate while we still can. On a clear day, you can see West LA, even downtown. I remember when I couldn't see the point, but now I'm at the point where I got it figured out now. Let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. Fix up the tree that's falling too. what's mine is yours. I thought you knew me better than that. I was under the impression that we all want the best from life. So let's celebrate while we still can.